Tony was a very special person, and he had very impressive characteristics. Ever since he was a little boy, he had this fascination about military, anything to do with the military. When he was in high school, he called his father and myself into the living room, and he said, "I need to talk to you guys. I need to tell you something. I decided that I'm going to enlist in the Air Force." So as soon as he graduated, he took off to basic training. Tony's main duty while he was in Baghdad was to be the lead driver for his squad. Tony loved his job. He absolutely loved it, and he was ready for anything. My son was fearless, and he was thrilled when he was chosen to be the lead driver for his squad. He had the responsibility to map out the safe routes daily, because they had to patrol the streets of Baghdad. And it was a time when there was a lot of bloodshed going on in Iraq. I know there was a time when one of the sergeants died, and he took it very hard. He said the whole squad were sitting there and they were crying. They bonded like brothers would bond, and they became like one family. They all suffered together, they worked hard together. He said that no matter how depressed they were, no matter how sick they were, they would get up early in the morning, they would arm up, and they would just go out and do their job. After his second deployment, he was home for a couple of months. They gave him some time off. He was home for Christmas and part of January. Then he returned back to his base. But after a while, I noticed that his personality was changing, and he wouldn't call home as often. He wouldn't come home to visit us. I would call him, and I just felt, what's wrong with Tony? As a mother, I could tell that something was not right. I knew something was not right with my son. And I told my husband, I said, we need to drive up to Albuquerque, and I need to see Tony. I noticed that he was always clinging to his backpack. And I asked him one day, I said, I want you to show me what's in your backpack. Show me the contents of that backpack. And he did. He took it off, and he spilled everything out on the bed. It was full of about 20 different bottles of prescribed pills. And it was at that point when he told me, he said, I've been put on antidepressants, I'm taking tranquilizers, they'd given me 3 different sleeping pills. And at that point, I did go with him to talk to the doctor. And I begged him, please do not put my son on antidepressants. I said, one of the things that's really concerned me is the fact that I've heard it can cause suicidal thoughts. And I was really concerned about that, because I would, hear on the news how many of our soldiers were returning with suicidal thoughts, or they were taking their own lives. I said, I do not want Tony on antidepressants. And he said, Mrs. Mena, this is the way we treat PTSD. We give them antidepressants. So I thought, okay, I'm not the medical expert. You know about PTSD. I'm the mother. I can provide love. I can give him support. I can encourage Anthony. But, okay, you're the medical expert. We'll give it a try. He was taking antidepressants, and I never saw him happy. I still saw him depressed. I never saw him smile again. I never saw that same outgoing person that Tony used to be. He was taking tranquilizers. He was still nervous. He was still anxious and agitated. He was taking sleeping pills. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't get a good night's rest. He was taking painkillers, and the pain was still there. It was so severe. I kept thinking, why is he taking these drugs? Why is he being prescribed all these different drugs, and yet he's not getting better? I see him getting worse. He would tell me, he says, Mama, I feel like a failure. This is not me. He says, I can no longer carry my weapons. I can no longer arm up. I can't run like I used to. I can't exercise anymore. He was devastated when he knew he could no longer be in the military. But at this point, he had already made up his mind that he was going to move on with his life and find another job. He was going to open a cigar shop. He was going to take his girlfriend to Las Vegas. He was going to start taking courses online, and he had promised me that he would be home for Christmas. So I called him, and he said, "Mama, don't forget you're going to help me decorate my cigar shop." And I said, "I sure will, darling." I said, "Your dad wants to talk to you." And my husband got on the phone, and many times he would ask him, say, "Why do I love you so much?" And Tony said, "Because I'm your son." He said, "You've got that right, boy." He said, "I do love you. And I'll talk to you tomorrow." Well, I never did decorate his shop for him. And my husband didn't talk to him the next day. Because Tony passed away in his sleep that night. I trusted every single one of Tony's doctors, and I didn't speak up. And because of that, my husband and I lost our precious son through over-medication. Shortly after Tony passed away, that I decided, you know what, I need to write a book. I was there, and I witnessed everything that Tony went through. I had all the memories in my mind. I had all these tragic, harsh moments that Tony experienced. And I thought, I can put it all together and I can write a book. And I wrote and I cried for 2.5 years until I finally finished this project. We need to speak up for our loved ones. They're so over-medicated, they're so drugged, they have memory loss, they don't know what to ask. And I feel that we need to speak out for our troops that are coming home. They're coming back and they're dying, or they're taking their lives. I feel that we need to be their voice and we need to speak up for them, so that they don't die with all these useless drugs in their system, the way my son did. I feel that I have accomplished something. Even if I saved one life, I think it was worth it. And I want our troops to come back and enjoy their lives again. I want them to feel happy again. I know it's difficult. War is difficult. War is ugly. But what's even worse is to come home after you made it through war, you made it through these deployments safely, and you return and you die from over-medication. That has to stop.